Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to explain how Chovy seemingly always have control of the lane and wins the lane through that control, as well as the fact that he always never lets the enemy roam for free. I'm going to explain how he does it. If you're having trouble, sometimes playing against Viktor, the enemy will roam and get a few kills, and then your team says mid gap. This video is definitely for you. If you just want to learn how to, control lane and definitely beat the enemy, choke the enemy to death, this video might also be for you. I'll explain how he actually does it. So in the first game, he actually goes against Ryze. And Ryze is kind of like a similar thing with Viktor. They're both archmages. They want to scale. They want to be able to get items. Early on, you can already see that Viktor is trading very aggressively. But because Viktor actually hits the wave first, this is almost guaranteed that Viktor will get level 2 first. As well as the fact that he goes up to poke the Ryze here. This is really crucial because what happens when he pokes the Ryze, these minions will aggro towards Chovy. And because these minions are aggroing towards Chovy and not aggroing towards the blue minions, they're not hitting the blue minions, which means that the blue minions will stay at this health, while these minions are still getting attacked by the blue minions. What results in that action is that Chovy's minions will push towards the enemy turret here. Ryze tries to do the same, but it's already a bit too late. You can see that we have 4 to 2 minions, and the lane is already going really well for Chovy right now. Again, once you know that you have a minion advantage, what you should do or what you shouldn't do is continue to hit level 2, because at this point you will almost always hit level 2 just from your minions. So what we should be doing, or what we should, follow what Chovy is doing, is that we should walk up, try to hit the enemy with our Q whenever our Q is up. It looks like a really bad trait, but I'll explain why this is actually a really insanely good trait. Look at the minions, right? We have such a huge minion that if we actually don't do anything, if Ryze doesn't do anything as well, it will actually crash in the enemy turret a bit too fast. So what Chovy does is that he walks up, hits the Ryze, which causes the red minions to follow him, and because Ryze trades back, it also aggroes the blue minions trade towards him. This results in a slight delay, which is enough time or enough to actually cause the minions to not push fast enough and actually cause the minions to crash just right in front of the turret or the enemy turret with the turret wave here, as you can see shortly right here. Also, you will notice that you will always want to just last hit as much as you can, because you don't really want to fast push too fast. So right here you see, it's just right in front of the turret. It didn't crash completely, it's just outside, and turret wave is already coming. This is already a big wave. And once again, Chovy is winning this lane really hard here. Yep. Ryze almost dies. Ryze would have died if Chovy didn't miss one E earlier, but it's okay, we're all human here. He's already pinging his Viego to dive the enemy Ryze. And even if the enemy Ryze doesn't die to Chovy or the Viego right here, it's still really good because now Ryze is actually missing out on the Cannon EXP, the Cannon Go, and also 2 caster Go and EXP. At this point, the lane is pretty much won for Chovy. Any small lead, like if you've seen my videos, is really crucial when it comes to a similar archetype matchup. So mage versus mage in this case. Now, I'll explain a bit on why he actually stayed to push this wave. I think ideally, going back after Viego came, or if Ryze died and basing back and TPing back was okay, but because he wants to shove in this wave and not lose even one minion, it's fine for him to push. The only risky part is that if Skarner is around, he might die here. But because Viego came through from Raptors and we don't see Skarner, we can assume that Skarner is probably not on top side yet. As you can see shortly, I believe Skarner actually appears in bot side right about now. There we go. You see him here. So now, Chovy gets the first base, gets to base first, gets to come back to lane. And this is also really important because if you come back to lane first, you basically get to say what happens to the lane. Chovy doesn't immediately shove because he wants the minions to hit each other and kill each other, which sometimes you will actually cause the enemy mid laner to lose 1 CS. And again, it seems very minimal for the enemy to lose 1 CS, but when you're in Korean Challenger, any small lead that you can get is really huge. And if you can do that in lower elo, imagine just how much of a lead you can do when your enemy is already bad. Right here, the Ryze is just playing really poorly, disrespecting, no wards, don't know where the enemy jungler is, playing really aggressive to trade, and it's not playing towards where his jungler side is, which is bot side, because we see Skarner around bot side. So now we see Skarner top side. Chovy is not hugging towards top side, even though I think he should, because Viego is around there. And you can see this Ryze is just suiciding right now, or just, killing himself. Because why would you go to where Viego is, as well as the fact that you have no flash? And at this point, the lane is pretty much over. So this is game 1. Just to summarize, when you're playing as Viktor, don't be afraid to trade really aggressively level 1, especially if you have Aerie or Scorch. More so on the fact that if you have your Q, if you have your Q off cooldown, you want to trade as aggressive as you can, just to control the wave to get level 2 priority. Number 2 is that if you can, always crash wave 2 and 3 together. It's trivial, but it's important enough that if you can do this consistently, you won't have the enemy randomly roaming getting free kills. And even if they do roam, they'll lose 2 waves. That is never worth a kill in the early game. Trust me, levels are very, very important in the early game. So those are the 2 things that you have to know. And because he's able to push such crash 2 and 3 together, it seems like he has the better jungler, even though a lot of that has to do with the fact that Chovy was able to manipulate the wave into crashing wave 2 and 3, and thus his jungler is able to play around him. Can you imagine if you actually let the enemy push in and then you want the gank, and if you flame your jungler, I can understand, but if you want consistent results, this is how you do it. Let me show you another game. So in this game, he's going against Galio, and he wants to play the macro better. That's why he took first strike. You can already know that, or you can already tell that he's trying to push for an early level 2, because he started hitting the wave first. That's one of the crucial parts about Viktor, is that if you are playing a range matchup into a melee matchup, you want to always be able to push for level 2, and one way to do that, especially against Galio, who has AoE abilities, is to hit or to reach the enemy minions first, so you then hit them first. Again, you can tell that he already gets a level 2 lead just because of a level or a minion lead here. And every time he can poke the enemy, you want to poke them, especially if you have no minions to farm yourself. The reason why he took first strike here is because the enemy has Pyke and a Vi. So even though he said that earlier, if he takes Aerie in this matchup, he can actually asphyxiate the Galio, he can't really lane bully as much because Pyke can easily roam to mid, and Vi can easily gank Viktor after 6 and even before 6 with a Q flash. So once again, you see similar patterns here where Chovy will have a minion lead and a level 2 lead here. Although I believe this game he actually didn't get to push in level or wave 2 and 3 together, because Galio was playing a bit too passive. But even though he didn't get to push in level 2, a great thing about this is sometimes when they don't trade or try to collect CS to even out to thin out the wave, they are losing CS. And I'll show you in just a bit how much of a CS lead Chovy can actually get later on. Right now he's at 11. Can't really see because he taps a lot. I want you to pay close attention right here. Even though his jungler didn't cover, what should happen or what could happen is that Vi could go for a cheat gank, and if Lee sees this, he could come around to protect Chovy. But because Chovy sees that Lee is not around, Chovy understands that, okay, he doesn't see Pyke, he doesn't know Vi might come for a gank. He's not really walking up to push this wave, even though he would love to, because if you push this wave, you can fight for Scuttle, and because once you push this wave, the cannon, or at least you won't get the cannon wave pushed into you, rather. So right now he's just playing really reserved. He's using his E to farm minions instead of his auto attacks. And the reason why he's actually letting this wave push into him is because pay attention to the side lanes. Both his side lanes are getting pushed in. So even if Galio pushes him in and roams to his side lanes, Galio will have to force a dive. And if he tries to force a dive, Galio would, or rather Chovy can TP to either side lanes and play for these little skirmish right there. Once again, he has a ward right here, so it protects him to see if Vi is actually coming around, which he spots. Right now, he's just trying to thin out the wave as best as he can, even with using minion dematerializer here. The crucial part about having minion dematerializer here is that the harder thing about Galio is that Galio can push really fast early on, and you want to be able to match that push, especially if the Galio also has minion dematerializer. You want to be able to match the cannon pushes as well. So once again, you can see that even though Galio is roaming, there's not a lot Galio can do right here. And at this point, Galio, or rather Chovy, can just hold a freeze. And he is basically safe from Vi ganks, as well as engages from the Galio here. So at this point, he isn't actually winning lane. Well, he isn't actually having a big lead per se, but because he is playing the macro here perfectly, he has I believe, a 12 CS lead in the early game, and that's pretty huge, especially if you're against a melee matchup. Now, I could go on forever about how this game actually went, but I just want to point out the main goal for this video is that when you're playing Viktor, you always want to get level 2 priority, because Viktor's level 1 is really strong. You never want to let the enemy push you in, because if you let the enemy push you in, sometimes they can go for early roam, and if they do go for early roam, you can blame your jungler. Oh, I know the enemy is roaming jungle, why aren't you playing safe or to your side lanes? But here's the thing, in slow queue, it's really hard to blame your teammates. You want to be able to get as much control as you can, and one way to do that is definitely to get level 2 prio, push in 2 and 3. This not only lets you dominate lane a bit more, but also protects your lane because you pushed it in. And let's say if the enemy still tries to roam after you're crashing in 2 and 3, it doesn't matter, because levels in the early game is really important. They're losing levels and they're coin flipping a kill here. I will take that deal any day of the week, any week of the year. And that's really about it. It's a short video here and it's really trivial, but it's definitely one of the simple things that if you don't understand, it's really easy to mistake that your teammates are getting gapped and there's nothing you can do about it, when in reality, understanding this little concept right here is super important and super crucial to you climbing to higher elo. Let me know in the comments if there's any suggestions. Again, feel free to put them there. I will do my best to research and give you guys the best commentary, or rather analysis that I can. I hope you guys are able to learn something from this video here. And again, it's pretty trivial, but it's very important to know these little things, because little things will eventually stack up and become big things, and you will climb through those big little concepts, or little big concepts. Once again, I hope you guys learned something here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.